In this video, I'm going to talk you through my experience of the 600mm with a built-in teleconverter. This is not going to be an in-depth review, then you have to look for another place to get that. But this is going to be my experience in the field and my pros and my cons of this lens here. So let's jump right into that. As a wildlife and bird photographer, my most important tool is a telephoto lens. I did not start with the big primes right away when I started back in 2010. I started first with a 55 to 200, and then I bought a 150 to 500, the Sigma, the old lens, and then I bought my first prime, the Sigma 300mm 2.8, and I used that for a long time before I went over to the old 500 f4, and I used that for a long time, and then upgraded to the 500 FL, which is a little bit lighter, and then over to the 600 because I went from DX camera to full frame and I wanted that extra range though, so therefore I thought that 600 would work perfectly for me. From that I went to the newest 600mm, the Z version with a built-in teleconverter. All primes are really nice, they are sharp, they have fast autofocus, and they have a nice bokeh because of the fast aperture, but they are heavy and they are expensive. So let's first talk about the cons of this lens here. First con is the price. The price is extremely high and not everyone can afford this lens here. So this lens is not for everyone just because of the price though. And also the weight of it, it's quite heavy, even though it's much lighter than the previous 600mm. It is 3 kilograms, and for many people that is way too much because many people today want to travel light, and I can totally understand that. So the 180 to 600 is a popular lens because of the weight is much better than this heavy prime lens here. And also when I had the 500mm, I have the 70-liter Suzuki version from Westby, and this backpack here would fit the Z9 with the 500 attached to the body with no problem. And when I got to 600mm, that was not the case though. So I did need to upgrade my backpack as well. I needed an 80-liter, I needed that bigger backpack so I could have a lens attached to the Z9 so I can easily just take it out and we'd be ready. But if you not care about that and you can have the body and the lens separated in the backpack, that's not a problem for you. Over to the pros. The first pro I want to talk about, and I think it's the most important pro, that is the built-in teleconverter. I love using teleconverters. I always did. I think the teleconverters on primes are quite sharp, but when you get a 600mm with a built-in teleconverter, this is so much better than like having to attach or taking off in the field, and then you expose the sensor for dust and stuff like that. And like having not to worry about that is so nice. And also the versatility of the lens when you're photographing birds from a long distance. And one of the things that if I want to do when I'm first photographing a new species is to have tight portraits. So I always start with the teleconverter on so I can get that tight portraits. Suddenly you can get the bird to come closer. Faffing around with taking off teleconverter can make this scare the bird away when the moment is gone. So having the possibility to just switch it with a little flick is so nice. I was using this here for the first time as well by photographing the ptarmigan, and it was a long distance away, so I started with a teleconverter on, but suddenly the ptarmigan decided to come closer and closer and closer until I just could flick it out over and then have the 600mm. I can still photograph that bird. That was so nice. The built-in teleconverter is probably the biggest pro for me to have that versatility in a prime lens. The price is quite like expensive, but you get a 600mm f4 and an 840mm f5.6 in one lens. Price is high, yes, but you get two lenses in one. The other pro is the autofocus and the VR in this lens is almost total silent. The old, like the 500 or the 600 millimeters, the autofocus and the VR, especially the VR, they make a lot of noise. So if you want to film birds singing and you want to have the microphone attached to the camera doing that, you could not, because it makes this humming noise all the way, like and the microphone will pick that up right away. You need to like work that around and having microphone outside the lens so you could not pick up that sound. But you can now with this new telephoto lens here. They have new design autofocus system, a new design VR in the camera, which is almost silent, and now you can use microphone attached to the camera. And the VR itself is also a little bit better than the previous, and the autofocus is more precise. That is my experience though, especially also when you are photographing birds in flight. When things happen fast, the lens need to keep on, and I feel that this lens here does that as well. And speaking about weight though, this was a con that I told you, but it also is a pro. So for me that are used to the prime lenses, the old 600 millimeter weighed 3.8 kilograms, but this weighs only 3 kilograms with a teleconverter, and that is quite nice. It's much more balanced in the weight as well, so you can handhold this for a short amount of time, of course, because 3 kilograms only holding this, it's quite heavy though. And I have a video coming up with photographing the little auks in slope and hillside. I tried to photograph that the bird in flight, but it's so heavy, so you cannot hold it for too long though. But still much lighter than the previous 600. Older lens, the 600 after that, was even more heavy as well. So 3 kilograms I can handle. This is my experience, real life. I had it for maybe half a year now, and I must say that this is probably the best lens I ever have, because of the versatility and the sharpness, the autofocus, the VR, everything that I mentioned here is so nice. And first of all, these lenses are for me a tool that I want to do a job. Like I said, this is not an in-depth review of this lens here, just my thought, my experience in the field. My name is Trond Westby and I'm a wildlife photographer, and if you're new to this channel here, I hope you consider subscribing, maybe giving me a thumbs up, because that will help my channel grow, and also putting the video in front of more people. Usually I do in the field, and I have a video from Svalbard where I use this lens here, which you can check out. I put a link on top here. Yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.